was looking up the meaning of mandate in the old dictionary, and there was a few words like authoritarian, blah blah blah, but part of it at the bottom says the authority given, especially by the League of Nations, to a larger power to govern a backward country in trust for its native inhabitants. Wow! So it's mentioning the League of Nations. Now that was established in 1920 by Woodrow Wilson after the peace accord, and then the Treaty of Versailles, which screwed over. They gave back some Chinese land to the instead of giving it to China after China had helped the British. They gave it to Japan because the Germans were in control of that part. Now, it led to the May 4th movement, which is very important, which happened on May 4th, 1919, which led to the Communist Revolution, as, what's his name, Mao said back in 1939 or whatever. Well, it's bad. They're calling everyone basically a backward country, and they're using the same lingo. And this is very important for everybody to kind of look into, and also to see what's familiar. Like, for instance, when they say, "Oh, give us 5 demands or nothing at all." Well, see, that's very a narcissistic bully tactic, where it's sort of like, well, if you don't give me all, then we're not talking at all. I'm dismissing everything. Forget about just one thing at a time. We want 5. Well, what they did somewhere in that Treaty of Versailles was demand like 20 things from somebody. I don't even know who, but you'll see that this began around this time. If you look at check it out, the May 4th movement, and then keep going. And see, this is a big problem, because we're all dealing with the same type of bullies that bullied the Chinese, and you don't want to make the Chinese become bullies. This is kind of what happens. It's a very contagious phenomenon, because dominated people will either have to become bullies or dominant too, like, unless they grow up, but of course they don't have a chance. And no one's innocent here. The Americans could have helped, but we couldn't. Well, we had our own problems, but in the 80s, the Chinese Christians were hoping that we would have the Christians over in the West would help them and have a bit of suffering, so that we could wake up and see what plight they were under. But we barely were, hanging on. But it looked good. It looked good, like the 70s and 80s. It looked like we were having a grand old time. But it's not like that. Things are tough all over. Main thing is, now we have context, which is everything.